So this is the investigation into stationary waves on a string. For this one, you need a signal generator. If you're not familiar with the controls on a signal generator, this is the kind of normal school one. There are some different ones. The main dial adjusts the frequency. It goes from 1 to 11. It's very hard to use. It's not normally calibrated very well, so you can't really read off this value except in very rough terms. This is the scale that this works on. So this is on times 10 at the moment, which means that that would be 30 hertz. If I put that on 100, that's now 300 hertz. If I go down that way, that's now 0.1, that's now 3 hertz. 0.3 hertz, sorry, 0.3 hertz, obviously, yeah. And 1 is 3 hertz. So you can see how that relates. 3 hertz means 3 times a second. You can see this vibration generator is now going up and down 3 times a second. How do you connect it up? Well, over here we have an amplifier. That needs to be turned to the int, means internal. If you flick that down to that setting, you can see it immediately stops moving the vibration generator. That's because you can plug something in here and have this amplifier. This is the symbol for an operational amplifier, which there is inside here. This will now amplify whatever you put in those there, and whatever signal you put in there, and output it from the output. This is the gain control. It says amplitude here. I'm going to put that back on internal. It's doing the signal generator. This dial here just gives you the output waveform you want. Sine wave's what you normally want. You can have a square wave or a triangular wave. These modulation buttons, they want to be off, but you can use it with these extra sockets here to modulate a wave as well if you ever wanted to. The voltage attenuator, you can kind of have that on whatever setting you would like, really. It's not going to affect things very much. What you need to plug it into here is we have 3 outputs. The green one is the common one. There always has to be a wire in there, and then we have a low and a high. And these are impedance ratings because this is an AC output. You want the low impedance output to go to your vibration generator, not the high impedance. Otherwise, it won't be a good match, and it will not drive your vibration generator very well. So the low one there. Now just notice there it says 1 amp max output. Can you see that underneath the socket? 6 volt RMS, 1 amp max. To make sure you're not going above 1 amp, it's good practice to have in the circuit an AC ammeter. Now please note here that you cannot use a DC ammeter. It has to be an AC ammeter. This multimeter is on the amp setting here, and I've switched it from DC to AC. Look, if I switch it to DC, that's DC, it's constantly varying, but AC is not constantly varying. It's given as a proper measurement. It has to be on AC. The vibration generator itself, if you overload it with more than 1 amp, you can break these things, and so that's why it's good to monitor it and never go above 1 amp, really. In terms of how you set it up, this is just like a speaker, really. It's just going to vibrate up and down. It does make noise like a speaker, if you can see in there. See the mechanism going up and down. It's kind of a heavy-duty speaker. You've got a piece of string here. I am in favour of a method where you thread the string through the hole in the top and anchor it to something fixed, like I've got a stand here. It's not kind of anchored super well, which means it might just vibrate a little bit, but you could clamp that to the table as well if you wanted to be extra secure. And what that's doing is it's not putting any tension on this middle bit here, because the string's just passing straight through. All the vibration generator's doing is making the string move up and down rather than bearing the tension. If it's bearing tension, it can bend that middle bit of the vibration generator, and that will break it, because over here this goes to a tensioning mass on the end of the string there, which is mounted on a bench pulley. This is just mounted a little ways up the table using this piece of wood and a normal tray just to mount these things on to make them a little bit higher up on the table. I've got a meter ruler here for measuring the length of the string, and I've also got some of these. You don't need these, they're not completely essential. It's just a very small bit of wood shaped like a wedge at the top with a piece of metal, and what that's doing there is it's providing a fixed end point, so the string stops vibrating at that point there before it comes over. You can use a prism, a glass prism instead, if you haven't got one of these particular kind of wooden bits. The other bit of equipment you can see I've got here is a white screen, and that's so I can see the waves. Well, if I come down here, the red string contrasts nicely against the white to enable me to see the waves as well as I possibly can. So what do? Well, I look at my ammeter and I adjust the amplitude here. Just the amplitude so that it's about in the middle to start with. I'm then going to put the setting on the signal generator up to 10 again, because that's probably the range that we want, going from 10 to about 100 hertz to start with. So you can see I put it on about 10 to start. You can see we're on about 0.1819, 0.2 amps AC, so we're all good. The string's vibrating up and down. Now if I hold the camera here and adjust this frequency, I'm now turning the dial, the black dial, up. As the black dial goes up, the generator starts to vibrate, and you can see the string goes crazy. If I go back down again, and now I'm going up, I keep going up now. Did you see it kind of went crazy and vibrated a lot and then went back again? If you try and stop moving the dial, the black dial, when it's moving a lot, can you see that there? If I just get that absolutely right. And then I come round to the front there and I film that. That is now vibrating at the fundamental frequency of the string. The fundamental frequency means I have a node here, and I have a node here, and I have an antinode in the middle. It's a fundamental frequency. I can measure that very, very roughly using the scale on here. So it's about 19 hertz. If you've got a digital one of these, it will tell you exactly. The way to measure it is actually to use a stroboscope. I use an app on my phone as a strobe, a flashing light. So I can't do it while I'm videoing, but because I'm using my phone to make the video. But you can measure the frequency. Then you can vary something. You can either vary the length of the string using the ruler and moving this along to get a different length, or you can vary the tension by changing the masses on the end there, and then measure what this fundamental frequency is again. So a different tension or a different length. You can find the first harmonic. You just go back to your dial here, and you just start turning that up. You'll see the vibration goes down again because we've got the interference on the string is now, meaning there isn't a standing wave anymore. But I should be able to, by turning it up a bit, find the next standing wave, and you get an interesting effect with the refresh rate of the video. Actually, you can sort of see it almost now. So I think this video is at 60 frames per second, and the string's now about 30 hertz, which means it's about half the refresh rate. So you might get a nice, interesting effect. It looks as though the string's not moving on the video there, but actually the string is moving quite nicely at its first harmonic. If I just get it a bit better and hopefully from the side, hopefully it just looks as if the string's moving up and down on the video. Can you see that? So it's actually, there's now an antinode here, there's a node here, antinode there, node in the middle, antinode, and then node. I haven't quite, this has wandered off slightly. I'm just going to get the node in the middle so you can see it. There we go, the node's in the middle, not moving very much now. But you're getting this weird effect with the video due to the refresh rate, which is quite interesting. So that's at about 36 hertz, according to the scale there, but it needs to be measured. That's the first harmonic. You can see now there's one full wave on the string. I can then turn that up and hopefully get a wave and a half. Oh, in fact, I don't think I quite got the resonance. There we go, that's a much better, it's not, that's a slightly better first harmonic there before I move on. And then if I go up again, I should be able to get the second harmonic. Hopefully. There's the second harmonic. I'll just try and get that a bit better. There it is. There's the second harmonic. So again, there's a slightly interesting effect caused by the frame rate of the video. So it's got a node, antinode, node, antinode, node, antinode, node. So you've kind of got one full wave and a half. And you can keep turning it. That's at about 52 hertz, something like that. Notice I'm still keeping the current down. And yeah, and that's how you kind of set up and do that experiment.